This message found you for a reason, and it wasn't by accident. You didn't find this video by accident. No, that's not how this works. Not for you. Because if you're here, if you're watching this, if something inside you told you to stop and press play, then something else is already in motion. Something bigger than coincidence. Something older than logic. Something that has been quietly guiding you your entire life. Let me ask you something. Why this video, and why now? Out of all the noisy, all the distractions, all the endless scrolling, why did this moment feel different? Why did your finger hesitate, just for a second, before you clicked? What if that wasn't random? What if this exact moment was planned, not yesterday, not last week, but long before you even knew who you were becoming? Because deep down, you've always felt it, haven't you? That quiet knowing, that subtle, almost unexplainable feeling that you're not like everyone else. You tried to ignore it. You tried to fit in. You tried to convince yourself that it was nothing. But it never went away. It followed you, through the silence, through the chaos, through every phase of your life. That feeling that you were meant for something more. Not louder, not better, but deeper. More intentional, more aligned, more real. And yet the path hasn't been easy, has it? You've faced things you never talked about. Moments where you felt completely alone, even in a room full of people. Times when you questioned everything, your purpose, your direction, even your own worth. And still, you kept going, even when it didn't make sense, even when nothing around you reflected who you truly were. You kept moving. Why? Why didn't you quit like others did? Why didn't you settle, or numb yourself, or completely give up? Because something inside you wouldn't let you. Something invisible, but undeniable. Something that kept whispering, "Not yet. Keep going. There's more." You weren't being delayed. You were being prepared. Every setback, every heartbreak, every moment that felt like the end, was actually setting the stage for this exact point in time. So I'll ask you again, what if this moment was planned? What if everything you've been through, every confusion, every unanswered question, was leading you right here? Right now? What if you're not behind? What if you're not lost? What if you're exactly where you're supposed to be? Think about it. There are billions of people in this world, but you're here, listening to these words, feeling something shift inside you, something you can't quite explain yet, but you know it's there. That's not coincidence. That's alignment, because being chosen doesn't mean life is easy. It doesn't mean everything falls into place. It means you are called to see differently, to feel deeper, to question more, to awaken while others are still asleep. And that kind of path, it comes with isolation, it comes with confusion, it comes with moments where you feel like you don't belong anywhere. But what if that's the point? What if you were never meant to fit into a world that wasn't designed for who you truly are? What if the discomfort, the restlessness, the constant feeling that something is missing wasn't a flaw, but a signal? A signal that you are being guided toward something greater. Because here's the truth most people won't tell you. Timing isn't random. There is a rhythm to your life, a pattern you can't always see, but one that is always working beneath the surface. And right now, you've stepped into a moment where things are starting to shift. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle tension, that quiet anticipation, like something is about to change. You don't know exactly what it is yet, but you know it's coming. And maybe that's why you're here, not just to watch, not just to listen, but to remember who you are, to remember what you've always felt, to remember that this path, no matter how uncertain it seems, was never meant to look like anyone else's. So let me ask you one more time. Why did you click this video right now? Why was it boredom? Or was it something deeper? Something pulling you, guiding you, placing you exactly where you needed to be at exactly the right time? Because if it's the second one, then this isn't just a video. This is a moment, a turning point, a quiet beginning of something that has been waiting for you to finally be ready. And maybe, just maybe, that moment is now. Because something inside you already knows this isn't random. You've always felt different, haven't you? You've felt it for a long time, haven't you? That quiet distance between you and everyone else. Not something you can always explain, not something you can point to, but something you feel deeply. It's like you're in the same room as everyone, but somehow not in the same world. They laugh, you smile. They talk, you listen. They connect and you try. But inside, there's a space, a gap, a knowing that something isn't the same. And maybe you've asked yourself this question more than once. Why don't I fit in? Not because you think you're better. No, that's not it. If anything, you've spent years wondering if something is wrong with you. Why you think the way you do. Why you feel things so deeply. Why you can't just go along with it. Why you can't just be like everyone else. But here's the truth you've been circling around your entire life. You were never meant to be like everyone else. And that realization, it doesn't come all at once. It comes in fragments, in quiet moments, in late nights when your thoughts feel louder than the world around you. It shows up when conversations feel shallow, when you're surrounded by noise, but starving for something real, when people are focused on things that feel so temporary, so surface level, and you're sitting there thinking, there has to be more than this. And that thought, that feeling, it never leaves you. No matter how much you try to ignore it, no matter how much you try to distract yourself or blend in or stay quiet. Because it's not just a thought, it's awareness, of a deeper awareness, a different way of seeing. You notice things other people don't. Energy, intentions, the way someone says something versus what they actually mean. You feel shifts before they happen. You sense when something is off, even when everything looks fine on the surface. And that kind of awareness, it's not easy to carry. Because it means you can't unsee things. You can't go back to being unaware. You can't pretend not to feel what you feel. So you sit there in between worlds, too aware to be comfortable in the ordinary, but still trying to find your place in something deeper. And that space, it can feel incredibly lonely. Because how do you explain this to someone who has never felt it? How do you put into words the feeling of being different without sounding like you're imagining things? So instead you stay quiet. You observe, you adapt. But inside the questions keep growing. Why am I like this? Why do I see things this way? Why does everything feel so different to me? And maybe the hardest question of all, where do I belong? Because you've tried. You've tried to fit into circles that didn't feel right. You've tried to shrink parts of yourself just to feel accepted. You've tried to silence your thoughts, your intuition, your depth, just to make things easier. But it never worked. Not fully. Not for long. Because no matter how much you adjusted yourself, something inside you always resisted. That quiet voice again. That same whisper. This isn't it. And that whisper, it's not there to confuse you. It's there to guide you. You see, feeling out of place isn't a mistake. It's a signal that you're not meant to settle into spaces that don't align with who you truly are. But that doesn't make it easy. Because awareness comes with weight. It comes with overthinking, with feeling too much, with seeing layers where others see simplicity. It comes with questioning everything, your path, your purpose, even your identity at times. And yet, beneath all of that, there's something else, something quieter but stronger. At a sense, a pull, a knowing that your life is meant for something more. Not more in terms of status or recognition, but more in meaning, more in depth, more in purpose, more in truth. You've felt it in moments, brief flashes where everything makes sense, where you feel aligned, clear, connected. And then it fades, and you're back in the world that doesn't quite match you. But those moments, they matter. They're reminders that you're not lost. You're searching. And there's a difference. Because people who are lost don't question. They don't feel that pull. They don't sense that something greater exists. But you do. Even when it's frustrating. Even when it's isolating. Even when it makes you feel like you don't belong anywhere. You still feel it. That quiet certainty that your life has a deeper purpose. That your path, even if unclear right now, is leading somewhere meaningful. And maybe that's why fitting in has always felt wrong. Because fitting in would mean ignoring that part of you. The part that sees deeper. The part that feels more. The part that refuses to accept surface-level living. And you were never built for that. You were built to question, to reflect, to evolve. To walk a path that doesn't always make sense to others. And yes, that path can feel isolating. There will be moments where you feel misunderstood. Moments where you wish things were simpler. Moments where you wonder if it would be easier to just not feel so much. But then, there will be moments of clarity. Moments where everything clicks, even if just for a second. And in those moments, you realize something powerful. You're not out of place. You're just ahead of where you're supposed to be. You're not disconnected. You're just tuned to something deeper. And you're not alone. Even if it feels that way sometimes. Because there are others like you, quietly walking their own paths, asking the same questions, feeling the same disconnect. Not broken, not lost, just aware. And awareness, it changes everything. It separates you from the noise, but it also brings you closer to truth. So maybe, just maybe, the reason you've never fully fit in is because you were never meant to. Maybe the discomfort, the questioning, the constant feeling that something is different isn't a problem. It's a beginning. The beginning of understanding who you really are. The beginning of stepping into a path that actually aligns with you. And yes, it might take time. It might take patience. It might take walking through uncertainty. But that feeling inside you, that sense that you're meant for something more, it's not lying, it's leading. So the next time you feel out of place, the next time you feel like you don't belong, the next time you question why you're so different, don't rush to change it. Don't rush to silence it. Listen. Because in that difference, in that awareness, in that quiet, persistent feeling, is the truth of who you are becoming. And this is only the beginning. Like your life has been leading to this exact moment. The signs have been there, you just didn't fully see them. Have you ever noticed how certain things keep repeating in your life? Not randomly, not occasionally, but consistently. You glance at the clock, and it's 11:11. You pick up your phone, 2022, a receipt 3033, a license plate 4044. At first, you ignore it. You tell yourself it's coincidence, just numbers, just patterns, just your mind playing tricks. But then it keeps happening. Again, and again, and again, until you can't help but pause and wonder, why do I keep seeing this? And it's not just the numbers, is it? It's the timing of things. The way answers show up right when you need them. The way certain people enter your life at exactly the moment you're ready to hear something different. The way a message, a video, a sentence finds you, just when you've been asking a question silently in your own mind. And you sit there thinking, how did this find me now? that's when it starts to feel different. That's when it starts to feel like something more than coincidence. Because synchronicities don't shout, they whisper. But they don't force themselves into your awareness. They wait for you to notice. And once you do, once you really start paying attention, it's like a pattern begins to reveal itself. Think about this. Have you ever gone through a period in your life where everything felt like it was falling apart? Plans collapsing, relationships shifting, opportunities disappearing. While at the time it felt like chaos, like things were going wrong. But then later, you look back, and suddenly it makes sense. That relationship had to end, because it was holding you back. That opportunity had to fall through, because it wasn't aligned with who you were becoming. That uncomfortable situation that you didn't want to face was the very thing that forced you to grow. And in that moment of reflection, you realize something powerful. It wasn't random. It was guidance, but not the kind of guidance that feels easy. Not the kind that gently taps you on the shoulder. No, sometimes guidance feels like disruption, like being pushed out of a place you thought you were meant to stay. Like doors closing when you were still knocking. And you resist it. Of course you do. You question it. You fight it. You try to hold on to what's familiar. But life keeps moving. Situations keep unfolding. And slowly, you start to see the pattern. The same lessons showing up in different forms. The same feelings resurfacing in new situations. The same challenges repeating, until you finally face them. That's not punishment. That's alignment trying to happen. Because growth doesn't always come from comfort. Sometimes, it comes from being placed in situations you didn't ask for, but needed. And when you start connecting these moments, the numbers, the timing, the unexpected changes, something shifts in your perspective. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to show me? That's when everything changes. Because now, you're not just reacting to life, you're reading it. You begin to notice how certain thoughts lead to certain encounters. How certain decisions open doors you didn't even know existed. How certain delays were actually protecting you from something you couldn't yet see. It's subtle, but it's there. Like the time you were about to make a decision that didn't feel right, and suddenly something interrupted you. A delay, a conversation, a random moment that made you pause. At the time it felt frustrating, like something was getting in your way. But later, you realized that pause saved you. Or the time you kept seeing the same message in different forms. Different people saying the same thing. Different places reflecting the same idea. Until you finally stopped and listened. That's how synchronicities work. They repeat until you recognize. They nudge until you align. And the more aware you become, the more they appear. Not because they suddenly started happening, but because now you can see them. It's like tuning into a frequency that was always there, but you were never fully aware of it. And once you tune in, you can't unsee it. You start to trust those small moments, those gut feelings, those quiet instincts, those subtle signs that don't make logical sense, but feel right. Because you've experienced what happens when you ignore them, and you've experienced what happens when you follow them. And the difference, it's undeniable. Following them doesn't always make things easier, but it makes things clearer. It leads you into growth, even when it's uncomfortable. It pushes you into new versions of yourself, even when you feel unprepared. And looking back, you realize something almost unbelievable. Every situation that forced you to grow was also guiding you forward, or every setback, every detour, every unexpected shift was part of a pattern designed not to break you, but to shape you. And those repeating numbers you keep seeing, maybe they're not just numbers, Maybe they're reminders. Reminders that you're on a path. Reminders that you're not as lost as you sometimes feel. Reminders that something is unfolding, even when you can't fully see it yet. So the next time you notice a pattern, don't brush it off too quickly. Pause and ask yourself, what is this trying to show me? Because sometimes the guidance you've been searching for is already right in front of you, quietly repeating, patiently waiting, or for you to notice, or for you to trust it, or for you to follow, because the message has been trying to reach you again and again. Your struggles weren't random either. There were moments when it felt like too much, not just difficult, not just uncomfortable, but too much. Moments where you sat in silence, staring at everything that had fallen apart, and wondered, why is this happening to me? The betrayals, the people you trusted, the ones you opened your heart to, the ones who knew you, and still chose to hurt you. That kind of pain doesn't just sting. It lingers, it echoes. It changes the way you see people, the way you trust, the way you let others get close. And maybe you started building walls. Not because you wanted to shut the world out, but because you didn't know how many more times you could handle being let down. And then there were the hardships, the moments where life didn't just challenge you, it tested you. When everything seemed to hit at once. Pressure from every direction. No clear answers, no easy way forward. You kept showing up, but inside, you were exhausted, tired of fighting, tired of holding it together, tired of pretending you were okay when you were anything but. And through all of it, there was something else, something quieter but heavier, isolation. Not just being alone, but feeling alone, being surrounded by people, yet feeling completely unseen. Why, like no one truly understood what you were carrying. Like no one could hear the thoughts you kept locked inside. And in those moments, it's easy to believe something painful. That maybe all of this is just happening to you. That maybe life is unfair. That maybe you're just unlucky. That maybe you're being punished. But what if that's not the truth? What if everything you've been through was never meant to break you, but to build you? But think about fire. When steel is placed into fire, it doesn't go in soft and come out destroyed. It goes in raw and comes out stronger, O-shaped, refined, transformed. But in the middle of that process, it doesn't feel like transformation. It feels like burning. That's what your pain has been. Not destruction, but refinement. Every betrayal, every moment someone chose to walk away, every time you were left questioning your worth, it wasn't there to make you weaker. It was there to teach you something deeper, to show you who you can trust, but more importantly, to show you that you can trust yourself. Because now, you see things differently. You sense intentions quicker. You recognize patterns sooner. That didn't come from ease. That came from experience. And those hardships, the ones that made you feel like you were carrying the weight of everything, they weren't random either. They were building something inside you. Resilience, patience, strength you didn't even know you had. Because here's the truth. Strength isn't built in comfort. It's built in pressure. Just like a storm. When a storm hits, it shakes everything. The wind howls, the rain crashes down, nothing feels stable. But after the storm, or the air is clearer, the ground is stronger, and what survives is rooted deeper than before. You are that. Everything you've been through, every storm you thought would break you, it didn't destroy you, it deepened you. And that isolation you felt, that loneliness that made you question if anyone truly understood you, it had a purpose too, because in that silence, you met yourself. Not the version of you shaped by others' expectations, but the real you. The one who thinks deeply, the one who feels intensely, the one who questions, reflects, grows. Isolation didn't take you away from the world. It brought you closer to who you are. And yes, it hurt. It still hurts sometimes. But look at who you've become because of it. More aware, more grounded, more aligned with something deeper than surface-level living. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens through process, through pressure, through fire, through storms. So maybe, just maybe, you need to see it differently. This wasn't punishment. Say it again. This wasn't punishment. Every painful moment, every tear, every sleepless night, every time you felt like giving up, it wasn't there to break you. It was preparing you. Preparing you for a version of yourself that couldn't exist without those experiences. A version of you that sees clearly, that stands stronger, that doesn't settle for less than what aligns with your truth. Because without the betrayals, you wouldn't have learned discernment. Without the hardships, you wouldn't have built resilience. Without the isolation, you wouldn't have discovered your depth. All of it, every single piece, was part of your becoming. And maybe you're still in the middle of it. Maybe things don't fully make sense yet. Maybe you're still asking why. That's okay. Because even when you don't understand it now, it's still shaping you. Just like fire shapes steel, even when the steel doesn't understand the heat. Just like storms strengthen roots, even when the ground feels like it's breaking apart. Something is happening within you. Something powerful. Something necessary. So don't rush to escape the process. Don't rush to label your pain as meaningless. Because one day, you're going to look back at everything you went through and see it for what it truly was. Not a series of unfortunate events. Not random suffering, but a path, a preparation, our transformation that could only happen the way it did. And in that moment, you won't just understand your pain, you'll respect it. Because it didn't destroy you, it created you. Because everything you survived was shaping who you're becoming. And now something is shifting. Something is happening. Not someday, not eventually, right now. You can feel it, can't you? That shift inside you, that subtle, almost electric awareness, like something has changed, and there's no going back. This isn't the same version of you from before. Something is different. Your thoughts, your emotions, your perception of everything around you, it's all evolving. Right now, you're seeing things you didn't see before, not because they weren't there, but because now you're aware. You notice energy, you notice intentions, you notice the space between words, the silence behind people's smiles, the truth that hides beneath the surface. And it's overwhelming sometimes, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. In this moment, you're realizing how much you used to overlook, how much you used to ignore, how much you accepted without questioning. But now your mind won't let you settle. You question everything. Why people act the way they do, why certain patterns keep repeating, why some things feel right and others feel completely out of alignment. And that questioning, it's not confusion, it's awakening. Right now, your awareness is expanding. And with that awareness comes emotional intensity. You feel things deeper than before, not just happiness or sadness, but everything in between. You feel the weight of situations, the energy in a room, the unspoken tension in conversations. Even your own emotions feel stronger, more vivid, more real, more impossible to ignore. There are moments where it feels like too much, where you wish you could go back to not feeling this deeply. But you can't, because this isn't something you turn on and off. This is a transformation. In this moment, your emotional depth is increasing because your awareness is increasing. You're not becoming more sensitive, you're becoming more connected. connected to yourself, connected to truth, connected to something deeper than surface level living. And yes, it can feel intense, because you're processing things you once avoided. You're facing parts of yourself that were hidden, buried, ignored. But this isn't breaking you, but it's revealing you. Right now, something is becoming clear. Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's just a feeling, but it's there. A sudden clarity, a moment where everything clicks, even if just for a second. Where you understand something you didn't understand before. Where you see a situation for what it truly is. Where you recognize a pattern that's been repeating in your life. Where you finally admit a truth you've been avoiding. That clarity, it's not random. It's the result of everything shifting within you. And once clarity arrives, things start to change. You can't stay in the same environments that don't align with you. You can't keep entertaining the same patterns that no longer serve you. You can't ignore what you now know. Because awareness demands action. In this moment, you are standing at a turning point. Whether you realize it or not, you are no longer who you used to be, but you're still stepping into who you're becoming. That space, it can feel uncertain, uncomfortable, even a little chaotic. But it's necessary, because transformation doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in transition. And that's exactly where you are. Right now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. Now. This is the moment where things begin to shift, where your perspective changes, where your awareness deepens, where your path starts to reveal itself piece by piece. You don't need all the answers. You don't need everything to make perfect sense. You just need to recognize that something is happening. That something inside you is waking up. And once you acknowledge that, everything starts to align differently. You begin to trust your instincts more. You begin to listen to that inner voice you once ignored. You begin to move differently, think differently, be differently. Because you're no longer asleep. You're aware. In this moment, you're being called to step into that awareness. And not run from it, not doubt it, not shrink back into what's familiar. But to embrace it, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels uncertain, even if it feels like everything is changing at once. Because it is. Right now, your life is shifting. Maybe quietly, maybe subtly, but undeniably. The old patterns are breaking. The old mindset is fading. The old version of you is dissolving. And then something new is emerging. A version of you that sees clearly, that feels deeply, that understands things on a level you couldn't reach before. This is not the end of something. This is the beginning. The beginning of awareness. The beginning of alignment. The beginning of stepping into who you were always meant to be. So don't ignore this moment. Don't brush it off. Don't convince yourself it's nothing. Because it's everything. Right now, you are awakening. In this moment, you are becoming, and nothing will ever be the same again. Because this message didn't come to you by accident, it came on time. But not everyone will understand this, and that's the truth. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being misunderstood. From feeling like no matter how much you try to explain yourself, no one truly gets you. You can be surrounded by people, friends, family, conversations happening all around you, and still feel like you're on the outside looking in, like you're speaking a language no one else can quite understand. And maybe you've felt that more and more lately, not because people changed overnight, but because you did. Something in you started to shift. Your perspective, your values, the way you see the world. And suddenly, the connections that once felt natural started to feel distant. Conversations that used to flow now feel forced. Topics that once interested you now feel empty. And you sit there listening, nodding, trying to engage, but inside it, you feel disconnected. And that's when it hits you. I don't belong here anymore. That realization, it's heavy, because it doesn't just affect your thoughts. It affects your relationships. You start noticing the distance growing, not always physically, but emotionally. You don't laugh the same way. You don't relate the same way. You don't connect the same way. And the hardest part, it's not that you don't care. You do. You care deeply. You remember what those connections meant to you. You remember the moments, the memories, the shared experiences. But something has changed. And no matter how much you try to hold on to what was, it doesn't feel the same anymore. That's the part no one really prepares you for. Outgrowing people. It sounds simple when you hear it. It sounds almost natural. But when you're living it, it feels like loss. Because you're not just moving forward, you're leaving pieces of your life behind. People who once felt like home start to feel like strangers. And you don't always know how to explain it. How do you tell someone that you've grown in a direction they can't follow? How do you explain a shift that doesn't have a clear reason, just a deep internal knowing? So, instead, you stay quiet. You slowly pull back, not out of anger, not out of rejection, but out of alignment. And from the outside, it might look like you've changed. Maybe they say you're distant. Maybe they say you're different. Maybe they don't understand why you don't show up the same way anymore. And that hurts. Because you're not trying to hurt anyone. You're just trying to be true to yourself. But being true to yourself sometimes means being misunderstood by others. And that's a lonely place to stand. Because now you're in between who you used to be and who you're becoming, between old connections and new ones that haven't fully arrived yet. That space, it can feel empty, like you're walking a path without a clear destination. And maybe you've asked yourself, why does growth feel like this? Why does becoming more aligned sometimes feel like becoming more alone? But here's something most people don't realize. Not everyone is meant to walk every part of your journey with you. Some people are meant for certain chapters. Some connections are meant for certain versions of you. And when you evolve, those connections don't always evolve with you. That doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make you wrong. It just means your paths are no longer the same. And accepting that, it takes strength, because it's easier to stay where you're understood, even if it no longer feels right. It's easier to shrink yourself, to fit into spaces you've already outgrown, than to step into the unknown. But you didn't come this far to stay the same. You didn't grow, become more aware, see things more clearly, just to go back to what no longer aligns with you. So you keep walking, even when it's quiet, even when it feels like no one else understands the path you're on. Because something inside you knows, this is where you're meant to be. And yes, there will be moments where it feels isolating. Moments where you miss the way things used to be. Moments where you question if this path is worth it. Moments where you wish someone could just sit with you and say, I understand. But even in those moments, you're not as alone as you think, because there are others, walking similar paths, feeling the same distance, experiencing the same shifts, outgrowing the same patterns. You just haven't found each other yet. And that's okay. Because this part of the journey, it's not about holding on to what's familiar. It's about becoming who you're meant to be. Even if that means walking alone for a while. Even if that means being misunderstood, because being understood by everyone often means you're staying the same. But being misunderstood, that can mean you're evolving, that you're stepping into something deeper, something more aligned, something that not everyone will immediately recognize. And that's not a weakness. That's growth. So if you feel isolated right now, if you feel like you don't quite fit anywhere, if you feel like no one fully understands you, don't rush to fix it. Don't rush to go back, because this space you're in, it's not emptiness. It's transition. It's the space where you release what no longer fits and make room for what does. And one day, you're going to look around and realize something beautiful. You didn't lose connection. You realigned it. You didn't become alone. You became true. And the people who are meant to understand you, they will. Not because you forced it, but because you finally became someone who no longer needs to be understood by everyone, only by the right ones. And most importantly, by yourself, because being chosen was never meant to be easy. If you're hearing this, then you already know. Take a breath, not a rushed one, not a distracted one, a real one. Because something has shifted inside you. Not later, not someday, but now. After everything you've felt, everything you've questioned, everything you've gone through. You're not the same person who started this journey. You're more aware, more grounded, more connected to something deeper than you can fully explain. But you feel it. And that feeling, that's not confusion. That's awakening. So let this moment land. Let it settle into your chest, into your mind, into your spirit. Because this isn't just the end of a video. This is a beginning. A moment where you stop doubting what you feel and start trusting it. A moment where you stop questioning your path and start walking it. Because everything you've experienced, every sign, every challenge, every moment of isolation has been guiding you here, not to make you weaker, but to make you ready. Say it even if it feels unfamiliar at first. I am ready. Again, I am ready. Not when everything is perfect, not when every answer appears, but now. Because readiness isn't about certainty. It's about alignment. And you're feeling that alignment right now. Even if it's quiet, even if it's subtle, it's there. That inner voice, the one you used to ignore, the one you doubted. It's clearer now, stronger, more persistent. And it's telling you something simple, but powerful. Trust this, so trust it. Trust the awareness you've gained. Trust the way you see things now. Trust the fact that you don't fit into spaces that once felt normal, because that's not loss. That's grit. I trust my path. I trust my path, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it feels uncertain, even when no one else understands it. Because this path, it wasn't designed for everyone to understand. It was designed for you to walk. You were never meant to follow what everyone else is doing. You were never meant to ignore what you feel. You were never meant to stay asleep to your own awareness. You were meant to wake up. And you are, right now. Feel that. Feel the shift in your perspective. Feel the strength in everything you've survived. Feel the clarity that's beginning to form. This is power. Not loud, not forced, but real, grounded, unshakable. It's yours. Say it. I am powerful again. I am powerful. Not because life was easy, but because you faced what was difficult. Not because you had all the answers, but because you kept moving without them. That's strength. That's resilience. That's purpose being built in real time. Because your life is not random. Your experiences are not meaningless. Your journey is not accidental. There is a pattern, a direction, a purpose. Even when you couldn't see it, it was there, guiding you, shaping you, preparing you. And now you're starting to recognize it. So don't shrink back. Don't second guess this moment. Don't convince yourself that this feeling will pass, because this isn't temporary. This is transformation. Say it. I am becoming who I was meant to be. Again. I am becoming who I was meant to be, not who others expected, not who you once tried to be, but who you truly are. And that version of you is not lost, is not broken, is not behind. That version of you is emerging right now. So stand in that, even if it feels new, even if it feels unfamiliar, because growth always does. And remember this: you didn't come this far to doubt yourself now. You didn't go through everything you've been through just to turn back at the moment things begin to align. You are here for a reason. Say it. My life has purpose. Again, my life has purpose, even when it was unclear, even when it felt heavy, even when you didn't understand it. It was always there. And now you're stepping into it, not all at once, but piece by piece, moment by moment, choice by choice. So choose to move forward. Choose to trust yourself. Choose to honor what you feel, because everything you need is already within you. The awareness, the strength, the clarity. It's not something you're searching for anymore. It's something you're remembering. And that changes everything. So as you leave this moment, don't leave it behind. You carry it with you. Carry the awareness. Carry the strength. Carry the knowing that you are not who you used to be. You are someone who sees clearly, who feels deeply, who understands that life is happening for you, not to you. And most importantly, you are someone who is ready. Ready to step into your purpose. Ready to trust your path. Ready to embrace the awakening that is already unfolding within you. So stand tall in that truth, even in silence, even in uncertainty, because you don't need the world to validate what you already know. You feel it. And that's enough. This is your moment. This is your path. This is your awakening, and you are ready.